66 million years ago, the dominant rulers of Earth vanished. What came next would reshape every living thing on this planet. The age of dinosaurs is over. But this is not a story about endings. This is a story about what survived, adapted, and ultimately thrived. Through cutting-edge AI visualization, we can travel back in time and witness creatures no human eye has ever seen. In breathtaking detail, 50 million years of untold history, bizarre creatures, radical climates. A planet unrecognizable from the one we know today. This is Earth after the dinosaurs. A world rebuilt from mere silence, stranger, wilder, and more wondrous than anything that came before. Welcome to the most extraordinary chapter in the history of life on Earth. The Age of Mammals begins now. 66 million years ago, a single moment changed everything. A silence fell across a world that had never known quiet. A rock nearly 10 kilometers wide, traveling at 70,000 kilometers per hour, struck Earth. It struck Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, releasing energy 2 billion times more powerful than any nuclear weapon. Molten rock reigned globally. Forests ignited. Earthquakes of massive magnitude shook every continent. Billions of tons of ash and sulfur blocked the sun, plunging the planet into catastrophic cold. Photosynthesis collapsed. Food chains unraveled. 3/4 of all species vanished within geological moments. Tyrannosaurus rex, Triceratops, the great marine reptiles, all gone. A world of giants erased. Deep in the rubble, something survived. Small, warm-blooded, hidden in burrows and crevices. These survivors were our ancestors, insignificant by every measure, yet carrying the future of complex life on Earth. The catastrophe ended. The long recovery began. From this silence, a new world would rise. Those small survivors inherited an empty planet and over millions of years transformed into creatures beyond imagination. This is where the Age of Mammals truly begins, not with a roar, but with a whisper from the dark. Next, the extraordinary explosion of mammal life and the strange new world they would build. The world after the catastrophe was silent. Ash still drifted. Beneath the rubble, something stirred. From a crack in the earth, a tiny creature emerged, one of the first true mammals to inherit an empty world. Small and vulnerable, these survivors were handed an extraordinary gift, an entire planet to themselves. Within 10 million years, mammals exploded into hundreds of forms. Evolution moved with breathtaking speed. Some grew truly large. Paraceratherium, the greatest land mammal ever, stood 6 meters tall. Others took to the sea, evolving from land-walking ancestors into the first whales over just 15 million years. Others leapt into the air. Bats, the only mammals to truly master flight, appeared 52 million years ago. The world was filling again, warmer, greener, richer than anything the dinosaurs had known. Yet mammals were not the only survivors reshaping this new world. Something else had endured and was rising. Dinosaur descendants had survived too, feathered, fierce, ready to claim their own place in this new world. The dinosaurs left heirs, feathered, sharp-eyed, ready to conquer a transformed world. 56 million years ago, birds were already diversifying, filling every niche the vanished dinosaurs had left. Some grew enormous. Gastornis stood nearly 2 meters tall, dominating the forest floor. For millions of years, giant flightless birds like Gastornis ruled entire continents as apex figures. Above, smaller birds were mastering flight, evolving faster than almost any group before them. Seabirds colonized the oceans. Ancient relatives of today's pelicans and cormorants worked fish-rich coastlines. Birds of prey emerged, sharp-taloned hunters scanning ancient forests for small mammals below. Songbirds began their story here. Ancestors of today's most familiar voices first sang in Eocene forests. Today, over 10,000 bird species fill our world, every one a descendant of those first feathered survivors. But birds were not rising alone. Beneath their wings, the great forests were transforming too. Beneath rising birds, the world's forests were rewriting themselves, leaf by leaf, root by root. The age of conifers was fading. Flowering plants, the angiosperms, were seizing the world. Angiosperms had survived the great extinction as seeds. Buried, patient, waiting, they exploded. Tens of thousands of new species filled every habitat: forest, swamp, riverbank, and hillside. Flowers were a revolution in reproduction, forging alliances with insects. Pollen, carried on wings and legs, connected plants across distances no wind alone could bridge. Fruits appeared, fleshy rewards for any creature willing to carry seeds onward. Animals ate, seeds traveled, forests spread further and faster than before. Grasses were still rare. The great open plains had not yet arrived. The world was wrapped in green. This green world fed insects, birds, and a new group of creatures growing quietly in the shadows. The forests were not just a backdrop. They were the engine driving evolution forward. Sheltered by flowering abundance, mammals were about to make their move. The age of flowering forests had set the stage. Now, it was the mammals' turn. For millions of years, mammals had lived small, nocturnal, cautious, hiding beneath the feet of giants. The giants were gone. The world belonged to whoever was bold enough to claim it. Within 10 million years, mammals filled every ecological role the dinosaurs had vacated. Some grew enormous, the first true giant mammals, reshaping landscapes as they moved. Others took to the trees, nimble primates reading the world through sharp, forward-facing eyes. Hunters emerged, sleek, fast, intelligent predators built not from instinct alone, but strategy. Some mammals returned to the sea, early whales still bearing the memory of legs. Mammals were not simply survivors, they were reinventing what it meant to be a vertebrate on Earth. The world was not finished changing. Forces far larger than any creature were already stirring. The climate was shifting. The warm, lush world that had cradled the mammals was beginning to cool. The age of mammals had only just begun, and already the next great challenge was arriving. The warm world that cradled mammals was changing. Slowly, relentlessly, Earth's climate was shifting towards something colder. Temperatures, warm for tens of millions of years, began to fall. The lush tropics retreated toward the equator. Antarctica, once forested and temperate, began its long freeze. Ice sheets formed where trees once stood. Ocean currents reorganized. Circulation that had kept the planet warm was rerouted by shifting continents. CO2 levels dropped. Forests that had dominated the planet for millions of years began to thin. Grasslands spread across the land, a new biome born from cooling and drying, unlike anything before it. This was not destruction. It was transformation. New landscapes demanded new strategies, new bodies, new minds. Animals that thrived in forest shade now faced open, exposed terrain. Survival required speed, endurance, and sharp senses. Teeth changed, digestive systems rewired. Grass is tough, silica-rich, and abrasive. It demanded new biology to consume. Predators adapted too. Open ground was a different hunt. No cover, no ambush, only speed and stamina. Climate did not simply challenge life, it sculpted it, forcing innovation at every level of the food chain. This cooling world built towards something extraordinary, biodiversity shaped by pressure, scarcity, and the need to survive. The world the dinosaurs left behind was gone. Something richer, stranger, and more resilient was taking its place. Within this transformed world, the seeds of modern life were already taking root, waiting for what came next. Those pressures forged a living world of staggering complexity, still unfolding today. Every ecosystem today carries the fingerprints of that ancient transformation, written into bone, leaf, and instinct. Grasslands cover 40% of Earth's land surface, a biome born from crisis, now feeding billions. Mammals that survived the extinction diversified into every corner of the planet, land, sea, and sky. Flowering plants, once opportunists in a dinosaur world, now dominate, partnered with insects in co-evolution. Tropical rainforests, rebuilt over millions of years, hold more than half of all species on Earth. Oceans, once ruled by marine reptiles, became the dominion of whales, dolphins, and vast schools of bony fish. Birds, living descendants of theropod dinosaurs, conquered the skies in over 10,000 species. Insects diversified explosively alongside flowering plants into millions of species. This biodiversity is the accumulated result of 66 million years of relentless adaptation. Every creature alive today is the unbroken heir of survivors who endured catastrophe, ice, and transformation. We too are part of this story, primates shaped by the same forces carrying 66 million years within us. The world that replaced the dinosaurs did not simply survive. It flourished beyond anything that came before. This story is far from over. Its greatest chapter and greatest test still lies ahead. 66 million years ago, a catastrophe reset life on Earth. What followed was not an ending, it was a beginning. Tiny survivors, mammals, birds, insects, flowering plants, inherited a broken world and rebuilt it into something extraordinary. Grasslands, rainforests, whales, elephants, eagles. Every living wonder traces its roots to that single moment of crisis. Every human alive today is the unbroken heir of survivors who endured catastrophe and emerged transformed. Biodiversity now faces pressures unlike anything since that ancient impact. The fingerprints of crisis are appearing once again. 66 million years of resilience built this world. Will we protect it or become its next great test? What comes next for life on Earth? Tell us below and subscribe, because this story is far from over.